For the past 4 years, 11-year-old Heather Wheaton has waged a courageous battle against brain cancer. Despite numerous operations, radiation therapy, and the loss of much of her sight, she continues to inspire everyone in the small farming community of Vandalia, Illinois, with her strength and will to survive.
I thought if Heather had a puppy, it would give her incentive to come home from the hospital after her operation. But to me, he wasn't a very pretty dog, but he was like something she'd pick out. She said, I didn't pick this dog out. He picked me out, so he loves me.
Thank you, Mama. I lost 3 guinea pigs and 1 dog. It meant a lot. All those animals meant a lot. And when I first saw Boomer, he sat on my lap and he looked up at me with those black eyes and like, let's go home.
It may seem real hard to understand why a dog would mean so much to a little girl and a family. But when it's an incentive for someone to live as long as they can live, then it's like a gift.
On December 29th, 1991, Pam and Todd Wheaton were going out, so they had arranged for Heather to spend the night at her grandparents'.
Boomer still was a little pup, and he piddled on the carpet, so I'd make them pin him up in the kitchen.
At about 8:30 p.m., Vandalia police officer Sonny Banal was driving through the neighborhood.
I was on routine patrol this evening when I noticed a orange flash to my right. When I backed up, I confirmed that the home was on fire.
Vandalia 207, you send the fire department on St. Clair Street, house fire.
First thing that went through my mind was that I needed to try and see if somebody was in there.
A firefighter who lived nearby heard the report of the blaze and rushed over to see if he could help.
What do you got, Sonny? I think there's people inside and I couldn't get the door unlocked.
Let me kick it?
Go ahead. Anybody in here?
Fire department!
We confirmed that no one was in the home, but we could hear a dog whining. But the smoke at that time was getting too thick, and we couldn't stay in there any longer. So for our own safety, we then got out of the home.
Within 7 minutes of the call, the Vandalia Volunteer Fire Department arrived at the scene, including firefighter Gary Gordon.
When we first arrived, the smoke was bellowing out of the house. It was very, very thick, very, very black. One of the firefighters came out of the house and said that he had heard whimpering of the dog inside the house. I have a dog of my own, and I know that they are part of the family. So I knew that we were going to make an attempt to try to find that dog for the family, if at all feasible. We did make a search of the living room and the front part of the house to try to find the dog. But it was unsuccessful. We couldn't find him.
A neighbor called Heather's grandfather, Harold Tidwell, and told him about the fire.
Okay, I'm on my way up there. Bye.
When my grandfather told me that there was a fire in my house, I thought, Boomer. Oh, no, Boomer. And all the way over to my house, I thought, I don't want Boomer to die.
We all know Heather's illness, and I think it just made it that much more of a fight to try and save the dog for her.
When I first heard there was a fire, my first thought was about Boomer, because I can replace material things. But I felt at that moment, Heather can't lose this dog. We can't lose this dog. Heather has lost enough.
As soon as the fire was contained, the rescue workers went back in to search for Boomer.
Upon seeing the dog, I believed the dog to be dead, and I didn't feel there was any hope for it.
They immediately carried Boomer outside and assessed his condition.
His pulse was very rapid. He was unconscious. He would not respond to any painful, what we call painful stimuli. We couldn't get him to respond at all. This dog had very little chance of survival being in the conditions that he was in.
How is I going to tell a little girl who's dying herself that her dog had died? That was her friend. And when you take something like that away from a terminally ill child, sometimes they lose the incentive to live. And I wasn't ready for that.
Firefighter paramedic Mark Ponzel was also on the scene.
I'd heard of this dog CPR being done before from another paramedic that I work with. So I cuffed my hands around its mouth, held its mouth closed, and blew through its nose.
Come on, Boomer. Come on, buddy. All the time he was giving Boomer mouth-to-snout resuscitation, I was petting Boomer on his side and talking to him. I was saying, Boomer, come on, buddy. You can do it. Come on. Try hard and live for Heather.
Gary, what you got?
The ambulance arrived, and we got some oxygen and used a pediatric mask and gave it oxygen through a pediatric mask.
The turning point seemed to be when we gave the dog the 100% oxygen. His respiratory pattern seemed to pick up. His breathing was somewhat less labored, and he also started to move around just a little bit and started to respond. And once we saw the dog was starting to come around, it did make us feel really good. It seemed we did have a chance.
When I walked over to Heather, she was physically sick from her nerves worrying about Boomer. She started crying and just held on to me.
Boomer was rushed to the family's veterinarian. Dr. Connie Heaton met them at the clinic.
When I first saw Boomer, he was almost non-responsive. If you talked to him, he would try to look, and then he was just too tired. He would lay back down. He just showed signs that it was pretty close. It was touch and go, that if we didn't keep things going, that Boomer wouldn't be with us much longer. I stayed with Boomer by myself, treating him, watching him, seeing how the drugs were affecting. As he became more responsive and wiggling to where I couldn't hold him on the table anymore, then I knew Boomer was going to be okay.
Boomer was treated for smoke inhalation at the animal hospital. 3 days later, 11-year-old Heather was finally reunited with her puppy.
He was like, hi, Mommy. Because I act like he's my son. And I was like, yay, Boomer, you made it. And he licked me again. He's always licking me. Either that or biting me. Mr. Boomer! Mr. Star!
When Boomer come home, it was just like sunshine was all around her. It was like she's just all aglow and her big old smile and stuff.
Thank you!
Recently, Heather got a chance to meet the rescuers who saved Boomer's life.
I'm Gary.
I'm Mark. I'm Sonny.
When we saw Heather after the rescue, it almost brought tears to your eyes when you saw her around Boomer. She was very appreciative of what we had done, and it meant a lot to us to see her playing with that dog, that you could see in her eyes that that dog meant a lot to her. We saw the importance of what we had done, and it made everything worthwhile.
I take a lot of jokes about the dog giving it mouth to snout. They bark at me, and that's okay. If the situation came up again, I'd do the same thing again.
He's teething real well. Yeah.
The men that saved Boomer, I think they went over the line of duty. You know, they didn't have to, but they did anyway. Today, a lot of people don't go that extra mile for somebody, and they did. They went that extra mile for a little girl. And I'll always be grateful for them. They're real special people to us, and they always will be.
Thank you guys for saving Boomer. I'm very, very proud of the men that helped Boomer. If they didn't help Boomer, Boomer wouldn't be here today. I should find a nice thank you card and send them. That's what I should do.